So now looking at the next page, we're going to solve this equation, this formula for V. So now in this case, the first thing you want to do is just look for any expression that has a V in it. So we have VT here. There's no V in this one whatsoever. So first thing you want to do is get rid of anything that doesn't have a V and move it to the other side. Now this piece is subtracted on this side, so to move it over, we're going to have to do the opposite. So we'll have to add 16t squared. And so if we're doing it on the right side of the equals, we got to do it on the left side. So plus 16t squared. So that cancels those out. And so now, as far as how you write this properly, just start with the s and then just follow along with the plus 16t squared. And then we just have VT on the other side. Well, this one's kind of nice because to get rid of that t, it's multiplied on, so you got to do the opposite. So we got to divide it. And we want to divide it off this whole side. So in this case, we get V is equal to S plus 16t squared all over t. And that's what we can write in the blank. Now you might be saying, well, what about reducing it down? Can we cancel these t's out? And the answer is yes and no. And the reason why it's yes and no is because you'd have to do a little bit more. You'd have to split it apart, and then you can cancel it on one of the fractions and blah, 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 blah. I wouldn't worry about it. This is perfectly acceptable for me. In the MyMathLab version, it shouldn't be an issue either. So as long as you're careful, you shouldn't have to reduce it down either. So, so that's that problem. All right, but again, just try to get rid of the things that don't have what you're trying to focus on. You know, like I said, we're trying to focus on V. Get rid of anything that doesn't have a V in it and move it to the other side. Adding and subtracting is always first. All right, first word problem. 3 islands in the Hawaiian island chain are Hawaii, the Big Island, Maui, and Kauai. Together, their areas total 5,300 square miles. The island of Hawaii is 3,293 square miles larger than the island of Maui. And Maui is 177 square miles larger than Kauai. What is the area of each island? So we need to find the starting point. Which one of those three is going to help us figure out the other two? So in the first statement, it says the island of Hawaii is 3,293 square miles larger than the island of Maui. So just a little flow chart over here. Maui points to Hawaii. So if we know Maui, we can figure out Hawaii. Now the second part of it says, and Maui is 177 square miles larger than Kauai. So if we know Kauai, that will point to Maui. So where's the start of the chain? The start of the chain is Kauai. If we know this, we get to here. If we get to here, we can get to there. So Kauai is going to be your X for this problem. All right, now where can we go from Kauai? We can go to Maui. So Maui should be next. And then Hawaii should be last. All right, but now let's get the expressions that go along with it. So what's the relationship? Maui is 177 square miles larger than Kauai. So larger, more than, plus. So we're going to add 177 to that. Now for Hawaii, Hawaii is 3,293 square miles larger than the island of Maui. Okay, now if you rush through this part too quickly, you would quickly want to say X plus 3293. That's Hawaii. But that's not right, because this is saying that it's bigger than Kauai. It's 3,293 bigger than Kauai, and that's not what the problem says. It's bigger than Maui. So we have to make sure we write MAUI down, which is all of this expression here. So x plus 177 plus 3293 is Hawaii. Okay, so now we have all three expressions down, but how do they tie together? Well, that's the first part. Their areas total 5,300 square miles. So we need to put all three expressions into an equation. So we got x plus 177 plus x plus 177 plus 3293 equals the 5,300. So there's the first island, there's the second, and there's the third. All right. So now we can start simplifying it and solving it. So we got 1, 2, 3 x's. And then we got all those numbers to add up. So let's add them up on a calculator just to be safe. So we got 177 plus another 177 plus 3293 equals 3647. Okay, so now we gotta lose this 3647. So that cancels those out. And so let's do that subtraction on the calculator just to be safe. Minus 3647 equals 1653. All right, so 3x equals 1653. And if we divide by 3, I am pretty sure we get 551. So that should be part of our answer, right? So let's go through. I'm just going to use an initial just to be easier on myself. So remember, x is Kauai, so that's going to have to be 551 square miles. And then we got Maui is next. And so how do we find Maui? Well, we're going to have to add, right? So we got the 551 plus the 177 equals 728. And then Hawaii is going to be, well, remember, it's bigger than Maui. So there's that 728. And then we just got to add another 3293 to that. So plus 3293 equals 4021 square miles. All right. But how do we know we did it right? Well, let's just double check it and make sure. Let's add up all three of them, and we should get our 5,300. So we already got 4021 in there. Let's add 728 plus 551. Whew, we got it. So, checks out. Excuse me. Okay, so we are 8 minutes in, so I'm going to stop this video here. Well, actually, no, I won't. I'm going to keep going. I'm feeling frisky. Hope you are too. Let's take a look at our first really yucky word problem. How many liters of a 20% solution of a chemical should Roxanne Roberts mix with 10 liters of a 50% solution to obtain a mixture that is 40% chemical? Ugh. Well, remember, if you set up a table for these, it will help immensely. So remember, your table looks something like this. You've got a percent column, you have an amount column, and you have a product column. So you need all three columns to help set up your equation. So the first thing, let's get our percentages in place. So we had a 20% solution. We got a 50% solution. And we got a 40% solution. Now what's nice about these is that they try to keep it kind of in order of what goes together. So we know the 20% goes with the 50%. And we end up with the 40%. So I'm going to put an extra line right there. All right, so there's step one. Next is to get your amounts. So how many liters of a 20%? Well, we don't know. So there's our X. Should she mix with 10 liters of a 50%? So we know 10 liters goes there. And then to obtain a mixture that's 40%, again, we don't know how much. We're not going to say X again, though, because that wouldn't make sense. And the reason why it doesn't make sense is because let's pretend we know how much was here. If we had 3 liters of 20% and we mixed it with 10 liters of 50%, we'd have a total of 13, right? So if this was 3, 10, we'd have 13. But we don't know how much we're starting with. But the only thing we do know is that we have to add these two things together to get the third quantity. So to add that together, we would have to have something like X plus 10. That's going to have to be that third quantity. Not pretty, but it's always going to be the sum of those two quantities. All right, we're almost there. Now that you have this column set up, now we can get our products. So remember, your products are just multiplying straight across. And while we're doing that, let's change those into decimals at the same time. So 0.20 times X, 0.50 times 10, and 0.40 times X plus 10. All right, that wasn't too bad. But now what do we do to get our equation? Well, remember, these two are being mixed. These two are being added together. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to add those two together, and we're going to end up with, or obtain, our third product. So this is going to be equal to 0.40 times X plus 10. Okay, now we have an equation. Now we just got to break it down. So let's get rid of those parentheses to start. And if I multiply 0.50 times 10, I better get 5. And now this one I should distribute. Okay, so we've distributed. And so now we got to start moving stuff around. So this is the smaller X. I'm going to move that over by subtracting it. So that cancels those out. I end up with 0.20x plus 4. And now I can move the 4 over by subtracting that. And that cancels those. So I got 1 equals 0.20x. And then I got to divide by 0.20. And so what's that give me? So x is equal to 5. So 5 should be your answer. So now just make sure you put your units in there. So how many liters of that 20% do we need? We need x of the 20. So we need 5 liters of 20% solution. All right. I know those ones are tricky. So like I said, try to use this table, especially when you get to the Blackboard part. You want to show that work so I can give you some partial credit. Because if you don't show any work, you're not going to get any credit. Alrighty. We'll see you in the next video for the next page.